I have 3 projects to chat about today. A blanket that turned into a surprise finished object, I think. A sweater project I'm loving, and another one I'm also loving but it needs a really good and really long frogging session. So get comfy and let's dive in. Hi there and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name's Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. I am really excited to chat about these 3 projects with you today. It's a mix of finishing and works in progress because apparently I'm too stubborn to realize when I'm making a mistake. Last week I released a pattern roundup video talking about sweaters and cardigans to knit while lounging on the couch and watching a movie, so all those patterns are really easy to knit and keep track of, but with a little twist to keep things interesting. Go check it out in case you want to, it is linked down below. But for now, grab your knitting and let's get started. And the first project on the agenda today is my one and only finished object, which is my sweet shop blanket. This is a pattern by Laura Penrose and I've used 17 different colors. Let me show you the basket full of my colorways. Oh, my colorways. Let me take the white yarn out and show you all my 17 colorways. By the way, I wound them up back into a skein form shape because I think it's easy to storage. And let me show you all 17 colorways I've used. These are all sock yarn held double, and my white yarn is a yarn intended for hand dye actually, which is also a sock yarn that I've also held double to get a DK weight gauge. And this is my leftover, well, one of my many skeins left over. But talking about my sweat shop blanket. If you watched my latest podcast episode, you're thinking, Lu, how did you manage to knit 60 squares in 2 weeks? Well, here's the thing. I didn't. I only worked on 15 squares over the last 2 weeks. So now I have 70 squares on this blanket because I was wrong last time I talked about this project with you guys. I thought I still had 60 squares left to work on, but I had 65. So the situation was even worse than what I first imagined. But anyway, I worked on 15 squares over the last 2 weeks, which is quite a good amount of knitting time dedicated to this blanket, I think. And I am considering it a finished object, at least for now. And this is why we have so much to talk about this blanket. First of all, my first plan was to knit a 10 by 12 squares blanket, and therefore I would have 120 squares, and that would give me a good size blanket to use it on the bed and also on the couch and all of that. It would be like a multi-purpose blanket, but I started thinking, I'm sure I'm overthinking this blanket, but let me share with you all that's been going on inside my mind. This is a DK weight blanket, so it is quite thick. And my first idea for this blanket was to have it as a summer blanket for those chillier nights during the summer season. My idea was to knit almost all the colorful squares with a sock yarn that is 50%, around 50% cotton and 50% wool, with a little bit of nylon thrown in there. And I thought this would give me enough cotton content to be able to use this blanket during the summer season. But we started getting some chillier nights over the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I decided to use this blanket one night and see if it would be comfortable enough, or if I would get too hot or feel a little bit of cold during the night and everything. And it was really comfortable. And there's a problem. Because if this blanket is good enough to use it in September, and it certainly is too cold, if I can say that, to use during the winter season as a bed blanket, then when I'm going to use this blanket? If I have the full 10 by 12 squares size. It's going to be too big of a blanket to use it on the couch, especially as a lap blanket when I am sitting on my desk. This got me thinking. And then I didn't know what to do with this blanket. So I decided to just finish the row of squares I was currently working on and add just one more row of squares. So now I have a 10 by 7 squares blanket, which is a pretty good and big lap size blanket. And I think this is going to be comfortable enough to use it on the couch and when I am sitting on my desk like I am right now and all of that. So my idea is to consider this a finished object for now and use this over the colder months and see if it's comfortable enough, if it's too cold, too warm and all of that. And then later on during spring or maybe summer, I can make a final decision and see if I want to add more squares to this blanket or not. Because I think having a 120 squares blanket for a lap size blanket, this blanket would be too heavy and therefore not really comfortable to use it when I'm sitting on my desk. Yeah, that's where my mind is at right now. And I also thought about adding a border to the blanket like the pattern suggests, but I'm not gonna do it. I just won't do it. This blanket is finished. It was such a relief, such a weight off my shoulders to see this as a finished object that there's no way I'm going to work on a border. There's no way. And I think that the border is good enough as it is, actually. It's good enough for a blanket. I really love it and it is really cozy. And I'm just going to use it on my lap here and see if it's too warm or too cold for a lap blanket during the winter. But this is my switch up blanket. I won't talk about cost when it comes to this blanket because honestly, I have no idea how much I've paid for the yarn. I started buying yarn for this project, 2 or 3 years ago? When I first started buying yarn, a switch up blanket wasn't even in my mind. I think at the time, the pattern didn't even existed. I just started accumulating all of this yarn because I really liked all the colorways they had. And I wanted to do something really special with all the colorways together. And when the switch up blanket pattern came out, it was a no-brainer. I decided to cast it on and all of that. So I have no idea how much I've paid for the yarn. I mean, I know a little bit. I think for each footprint colorway, which is the yarn I have most colorways, I think I've paid around 10 euros or so for each 100 gram ball. And there are other 6 different yarns here, all sock yarn, but I know I've paid around 8 or 9 for each of those balls. So yeah, if you consider I paid 10 euros for each 100 gram ball of colorful yarn, I have 70 squares. Each square takes up about 10 grams of yarn, held double, or fingering weight held double. So one ball gives me 10 squares. I have 70 squares. That equals to 7 balls. So I think in terms of yarn, the colorful yarn, I've paid around 70 euros. Yeah, let's go with 70 euros. And for my white yarn, I know I've paid around 5 euros for each skein, 100 gram skein. And I've also used 7 skeins, so around 35 euros. That would give me a blanket of around 105 euros. Yeah, I think this sounds right. I have so much yarn left over because my plan was to work on 50 more squares. So this yarn is going into my stash for now. I want to keep it separate in case I want to add more squares later on. I just said I wasn't going to talk about the cost and I just did. Yeah, but it's just an estimate. I don't know exactly what I've paid for each of the yarns that I have around me right now, but this is my sweet shop blanket. I've already talked a little bit about the yarn amounts I've used for each square. I don't think it makes any sense to talk about the yarn amount for the entire thing, because it's highly dependable on the size you decide to make your blanket. But for each square, I know I've used, oh, I still have my stitch marker. But I know for each square I've used around 9.5 to 10 grams of the colorful yarn and 10 grams of my white yarn, all of it held double. But this is it, and it is such a weight off my shoulders to consider this a finished object. I don't like having lingering whips, and this was making me antsy. I wanted to work on my sweaters and shawls and hats and socks, but at the same time I kept having to go back to this blanket to finish it once and for all. So yeah, it is done. This is off my needles, and I am so relieved to say that, but this is it, and I want to celebrate with a new cast on that I have no idea what it's going to be. But enough about this blanket, and let's talk about the first work in progress of today's video, which is going to be the wrap. We also have a lot to talk about this wrap. This is the late summer wrap by Knitting for Olive. The yarn I'm using for this project is the recommended yarn, which is Knitting for Olive Merino, held together with one strand of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. The merino colorway I'm using is called Claret, which is this deep red, really lovely. And my mohair colorway is Plum Rose, which is a blush pink or something like that. And this is the combo that I have. I love these two colorways together, and I love the fabric it is creating. I have a little swatch here attached to my two yarn balls, but we'll get to that later on. For now, let me show you the current state of my wrap. Here it is, and I think you can already tell this is a project in urgent need of a good frogging session. First of all, I love the fabric. Before we get into all the problems, there's so much going on here that I don't even know where to begin. So let's start with the good things first, and the fabric. I love the fabric, okay? Let me show you the back because you can see more of the fabric it is creating, and I love it. It is really soft, really comfortable to wear, lovely next to skin, and I love the way the pink mohair colorway adds a little bit of an interesting factor, and also a lighter shade, a lighter color to the entire project. But the dark red colorway, the claret colorway, doesn't let it be too light. I love the fabric. You can see that I am terrible describing colors, but this is what I have so far. So now let's get into the problems because the list is pretty long. First, the construction. This is a saddle shoulder construction, so let me turn her around here. You first cast on stitches for the neckband here, and then you pick up stitches on one side of the neckband to start shaping the back, also the shadow, also the saddles, and then eventually you start shaping this V-neck thing going on here for the wrap. But the neckband, it is a ribbed neckband, I think the pattern suggests, and I didn't like the look of the neckband. It felt wonky, I didn't like it. It didn't seem very elegant, I guess I could say. So I decided to swap that for a double knitted band, and this is what I have here. My band that I always want to say button band, but this has no buttons. Anyway, the band here is double knitted, and I am knitting it as I go, so that's why I have so much fabric here bunching up, This thing is horrendous. I knew something was wrong, but I just kept on knitting because I was too stubborn to realize I was doing something wrong, apparently. I just thought this extra fabric here, the tightness of the button band, it would block out, but clearly it's not going to block out. I think it's too much of a problem here to block out. But anyway, this is only my second time knitting a double knitted band, so I don't have much experience with it. My first thought was, if I work on a double knitted band as I go, I mean along the project, and not attach it after I finish working on the body, then I will use the same needles for the band that I use on the body, and therefore my double knitted band would maybe flare out a little bit. That was my first thought. I know it is wrong, but that's what I was thinking. So I didn't know what to do, so I just decided to cast it on and see what it would create. And this is what I have here. I just thought this thing I would be able to stretch this out with blocking, and therefore I would fix the bunching up here, but I don't think blocking will resolve all my problems. I am going to frog this, but because of the construction, I think I have to frog all the way back to my neckband. So I'm going to frog the entire thing, and I have just separated for the sleeves. So yeah, this is a little bit sad. Let me show you here. Yeah, I just worked on a couple of rows after separating for the sleeves. So yeah, I'm going to frog this as soon as I finish recording today's podcast. But this is my late summer wrap. Since I switched to a double knitted band, I added a few stitches to my band. So my band has 14 stitches instead of 11, I think, or something. The pattern recommends for the band. And also, I don't know how to fix this problem. I know I have to add extra rows to the band, only to the band, to make it go like this. You can see now. Let me see if I can show you this. Yeah, the fabric is so bunched up here that the body fabric goes all the way down here, and this is where my band stops. So there's a little 7 centimeter difference here, which is quite significant. This is why I have to frog this. I plan on frogging it all the way back to the neckband, like I said, and I need to add more rows only to the neckband, but I don't really know how to do this. I don't want to knit without a neckband, just adding a add stitch here to later pick up stitches and work on a double knitted band like the regular way, the original traditional way, I guess I would say. After I finish working on the body, that would be my last option. I don't really want to do that. I want to experiment and improve my knitting skills. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I want to add extra rows to the band, and I first thought, well, let me just turn my work, add 2 more rows to the band, and then continue working on the body of the cardigan. Let's go with a cardigan. This is a wrap, it's a cardigan. And I don't know if I will have little holes when I turn my work, because I don't plan on using any short row technique like German short rows, wrap and turn, or anything like that. And this is why I have a swatch. I am talking like a mile a minute, I think, today. But my mind is going everywhere today because of this wrap. This is making me lose my sleep. So I knitted a swatch by adding 1 extra row every time I work on the body. So I'm actually working 1 row on the body and 2 rows on the band to make up for this difference in gauge, because I don't know why I didn't consider a gauge difference, but anyway, this is where I'm at. This is the little swatch I have, and I think it's working. I added the increases here to shape the V-neck portion of the cardigan. So this is why it doesn't have straight edges. But this is the little swatch I have. And I think this is going to work. I think it's worth a try. Yeah, I'm going to frog this and almost cast it on again. Adding 1 row for every row I work on the body. Yeah, this is my plan for now. If you have any suggestions of what I can do with this wrap, please let me know and comment down below. I would highly appreciate. But this is where my mind is at right now. And since I'm going to frog this and basically cast it on again, I think I want to make a few tweaks to the fit to get a better fit. First of all, I want to, let me see if I can show you like this. First of all, I want to raise my underarm a little bit by 2.5 centimeters or something like that. Right now, it sits pretty low, lower than what I would prefer. So I think I want to raise it a little bit and separate for the sleeves a few rows sooner, around 10 rows or so sooner. And also, I think I want to remove a few stitches on the sleeves. Because here's the thing. This pattern, oh, there are so many things going on right now. This pattern is intended for 0 to 8 centimeters of negative ease. And the size I'm knitting right now gives me around 5 centimeters of positive ease. And I knew that going into the project, that's what I wanted. I wanted just a little bit of positive ease. I don't really like negative ease and all of that. So I am happy with the size, but I didn't consider, well, when I was choosing the size I wanted to knit, I only considered the fit of the body, and therefore I wanted 5 centimeters of positive ease. But I didn't give any thought to the sleeves. And although the pattern suggests 0 to 8 centimeters of negative ease on the body, the sleeves, I would say, have what? 0 or a little bit of positive ease? So if I am working on something that would give me 5 centimeters of positive ease, if I follow the same size instructions for the sleeves, it would give me too many stitches and therefore too much positive ease, right? Does it make any sense what I'm saying? I think it does. Anyway, so I want to remove a few stitches on the sleeves also. And I also want to do one extra tweak to the fit. And I want a little bit more coverage here around the V-neck, around my bust area. So for that, I think I'm going to increase my increase rate here for the front panel a little bit sooner. I think the pattern starts increasing more rapidly around here, and I think I want to start around here to have a little bit more coverage around my bust area. So yeah, so many things to change. So many uncertainties right now. But this is my idea. Like I said, I don't know much about double knitting, so I am experimenting, and if I'm doing something terribly wrong, please say so. But my idea for now is to frog this entire thing, go back to the neckband and add rows to the band, just to bring this band here all the way down to here and have it meet, I guess I could say, the length of the rest of the body. Yeah, even if I stretch it with my hand here, you can see there's still a little bit of fabric here, puckering. Yeah, this is my late summer wrap. I knew going into this project that getting a good fit on a wrap would be a bit tricky, so I'm still very much excited to work on this project, and I will work on it as soon as I finish recording today's podcast. But this is my late summer wrap by Knitting for Olive. So now let's talk about something a bit more relaxing, and that is going pretty good, at least for now. So let's change it up. Alright, and this is my sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things. And I am so in love with it. The yarn I'm using for this project is Rosa Pomar Mondin in the colorway C582. This is 100% Portuguese wool. This is a lovely rust coppery color, and I'm pairing it with one strand of Isaiah Alpaca 1 in the colorway 33, which is 100% lace weight alpaca. And this is my combo, and there's something here. This is the combo that I have. I'm so in love with the colors and the fabric it is creating. It is so soft. I love it. This is a drop shoulder construction all over cables. I put off casting on this project for so long. I've been eyeing this pattern for I think over a year now, and I always put it off casting this on because I thought this is all over a cable and always the same cable pattern, and I thought this would become like a slog to finish and I would get tired of working on this pretty quickly. And so I put it off for a long time, and I am so glad I decided to cast this on. It makes me wonder why I didn't cast this on sooner. Because let me tell you, this thing knits up pretty quickly, at least so far. And it is so easy and interesting to work on this and see the cable pattern unfolding and all of that. Let me show you the back. Can you see? Yeah, I love this little detail with the cable here going down diagonally, where you pick up stitches to knit the front. And I've just joined in the round, so there's not really much to show, and it is obviously unblocked, so it looks pretty small as it is right now. But my idea is to have this with around 12 centimeters of positive ease. So I think the size is going to be pretty good for a sweater, especially an all-over cable sweater. I like to have a little bit more of positive ease than what I usually go for sweaters. So this is what I'm going with, and I love the fabric. I think I've already said that, but it's pretty soft and I am absolutely in love with it. I'm so excited to work on this and also on my summer wrap. Although I have to frog it, I am really excited to work on it, and I am so happy with all my knitting projects right now. I am so relieved I finished my switch up blanket, and I am so excited to work on my 2 works in progress. I want to cast on something new to celebrate finishing my switch up blanket, but we'll get to that in a minute. Going back to the yarn a little bit, my main yarn is this 100% Portuguese wool, and this is a pretty brown coppery color. I really love it. Let me show you up close so you can really see what I mean. I really love this color, but I think I love this project so much because of the yarn I chose to pair with my main yarn. This is way more orangey, way more rust. It's like a burnt orange, and I really love the 2 colors together, and I think that's why I love this project so much, because this alpaca lace weight yarn adds a little bit of a orange red undertone to the entire fabric, and that's why I love it so much. I don't think I would love it as much if I just had a dark brown color. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this yarn, and I love the cables. The cables are not charted, by the way, they are only written instructions. It's pretty easy to follow, pretty easy to keep track of. And my first 2 cable repeats here at the back, they don't really look as neat. I don't know if you can see it or not, but these first 2 cable repeats here, they look a little bit wonky. The rest of the back panel looks so much better than these first 2 cable repeats. And I think this is because when I was working on the first 2 cable repeats, I was using the yarn I had used to knit my swatch with. And I think that's why it was yarn previously knitted with. so it looks a little bit wonky. I'm hoping this will block out and everything will look pretty even. But yeah, I'm not really worried if it doesn't block out because it would be hidden under my hair anyway. But this is it. I love the entire thing, like I said many times. I'm really excited about this project. But when I was working on the back panel, when you reach this point here, you start working straight down without any decreases for a good amount of fabric, I would say, before you start increasing a little bit to shape the armhole here. And when I was working only on the back panel, I mean, this panel looks really, really long. And I am a little bit still worried that the armhole here is going to be really deep. I don't know if I'll have to frog a little bit and remove like one cable repeat to join it around a little bit sooner. I don't know if the armhole depth as it is now, if it's too deep or not. I think I still need to work on a little bit more of the body to be able to say this, but I think it's pretty good. I've tried it on earlier today and I think it's pretty good. But yeah, this is where I'm at right now with my sweater number 15 and it's making me so happy. I've already said that many times, but this is it. And my next cast on, I can't decide. I don't know if I want to work on a shawl or if I want to work on a new pair of socks. I think I want to do something like striped. I want something really easy and quick to celebrate finishing my switch up blanket. And I can decide if I want to work on a sock or a shawl. So we'll see where I land on next episode, but that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. This was a little bit all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. I certainly had a lot of fun recording it, and don't forget to subscribe in case you're new here so don't miss out on any future cozy knitting updates. Give it a like, ring the bell, leave a comment if you want to. All those things YouTube likes, I really appreciate. And I will see you back here on the next episode. Bye!